Hey everyone, and welcome to Term 4 of Foundation Patreon. We're about to get into sketching for environments. My name is Matthew Zikry, and I'll be co-teaching today's class with John Park. 1 point perspective. What that means is that all of our parallel lines going deep into space are navigating towards 1 point back in perspective. And I'm going to go ahead and break that down for you. So first I'm going to show you how we can locate where that point is. So what I'd like to do is I just find two of the vanishing lines, the parallel lines going back into perspective, and just draw them out, extend them forth, and you'll see that they intersect at a point. And luckily we have this point on our page. This right here is called our vanishing point. What that means is that any line parallel in space to these, the walls or these objects that we're going to draw are going to go towards this point unless they're turned in space, and we'll have more examples of that soon. So we know we're going to need a horizon line, we know we're going to need two vanishing points, and now we can connect them at a point on our ground, which is going to give us one corner for our box. Just like before, we have a floor plan. All you need to really do is draw another line which will give you the side right over here, and then, from the other perspective point, or your other vanishing point, bring that out as well, and that'll give you your other side. Now we can extract it up. Here's one corner. We're going to take the top point of this corner, connect it to both vanishing points, and then we're going to take the sides of our box and connect those upwards. That gives us the rest of the top corners. From there, we just need to, once again, connect the dots, and you have a box. And if Stickman is looking directly 45 degrees in front of him, right where that point is would be a 45-degree ellipse. If he's staring, at a circle 30 degrees in front of him, 30-degree ellipse. And that's coming from the horizon line, that is. So the horizon line would be a perfectly flat 0. 15 degrees, same thing. And there's a horizon line. So the bigger your degree, the bigger your ellipse. A 90-degree circle, or a 90-degree ellipse, is a perfect circle. A 0-degree ellipse is a perfectly flat line.
We're going to start off with the horizon line. And just like what Matt showed you guys, I'm going to start off with the low horizon line. And so the horizon line is going to be here. And we're just going to draw a really simple low horizon line. And here, I'm going to pick my vanishing point. I'm going to pick basically this corner here, and this is going to be my vanishing point. And I'm just going to draw lines that are going to be my vanishing lines that are all converging at this point. Now you can do the lines using a ruler, but I just like to do these by hand. I mean, they're really quick, and since it's small, you can get fairly close to accurate with this. But notice how I turn the paper, and I'm making sure that I'm not a slave to the paper. I want to be as comfortable as I can when I'm drawing, so I'm just kind of moving the lines around. But this isn't the only vanishing point that I'm going to introduce. I'm going to introduce another vanishing line way out here in the distance, and the way to do that is if this line here is parallel, the way to kind of introduce a secondary vanishing point is just start to draw lines, but not parallel, but slowly kind of vignetting and also converging to this other point that's way out here in the distance. So I actually like to draw a line here that's slightly slanted. If this is our horizon line here, I'll draw this a little darker so you guys can see. If this is our horizon line, then I'm going to make sure that this other vanishing point, or these other vanishing lines, are going to be slightly lifted. And it's going to give us the illusion of this 2-point perspective. What we can essentially do here at this point is I can start to fill in this room with some boxes that can represent stuff, such as furniture, anything that comes to mind, really. And that's all I'm doing here is I'm actually just utilizing this layout to start filling in shapes. And I'm just drawing simple, very, very simple boxes here. And even cylinders, if you like, from what Matt showed us. You draw on a box, draw on a ellipse that follows that box. We can follow the lines. Goes right back here. And the reason why this is important is that this gives us a really good understanding of the geometry and how to properly compose objects in a space by following the rules of perspective. Okay, without this stuff, guys, your drawing and all the structure underneath will fall apart really, really quickly. Okay, so at this point, since it's the thumbnail, I'm still going to treat it relatively loose, and I want to still indicate things. I don't want to get too detailed because, you know, we're going to save that for the larger drawing. Again, this is really relatively small. So what we can do is just start to convert these into things that are going to represent items, boxes, storage, whatever it is that we're trying to envision here. I usually like to just kind of figure out the basic composition and the geometry, and once we get up to a point where we're fairly comfortable or happy with this kind of thumbnail or drawing, then we can start to detail and really put in all of the nice textures and all that stuff. That's going to make it very clear and more detailed. So just to recap, start off with some warm-ups. Right, just do some basic lines, kind of get yourself into a more warmed up state. You know, exercise this stuff out. This really helps with just kind of getting your finesse and your precision in lines. And just make sure you start off with different cameras. Okay, just kind of get familiar with the concept of a horizon line, a vanishing point, and these different guidelines. Okay. What I would recommend is just do several pages of these to get more familiar and more comfortable. And once you're at this point, then I would actually encourage you guys to do a lot of pages of just these basic box compositions. Reason being is because before we get into the detail, you want to get familiar with how to set up, how to rotate objects, how to draw in cylinders, whether it's sideways or upright, or how to stack complex boxes on top of other boxes to kind of create an interesting looking structure. Okay? Once you're at that point, then we can move on to doing just some very simple comp drawings.